everyone, welcome back to another episode of This Disc is Great with Steve and Nate. I believe this is episode 49.
Sounds right to me.
So we have the Innova Rat this week. I know a lot of Innova players were super excited about this disc. Supposed to be their zone replacement. So we'll see what we think. If you're new to the show, what we do here is we take brand new release discs. We take them out to the field and film ourselves throwing them a bunch of times. That way we can show you how they fly, talk about what we think about their numbers, if they're accurate or not, so that you guys can get a feel for what the disc is before you buy it. We also give away everything that we throw in the show, because now it's a used disc and we can't sell it. So we're going to give it to you guys. We're also going to give away this sweet Warrior Spirit P2. We just released 3 molds, Dismania molds, with this stamp on it. So we have C-Line FD3s, C-Line MD4s, and these D-Line P2s. And you know, Dismania is apparently a nice little brand to throw, with Eagle pulling off his second national tour win of the year this week at GBO. So Reeser ought to link these in the comments so we can send you guys over to get your own. They're pretty sweet. I'm a big fan of all 3 of those discs. I've never putted with the P2s, but they seem to go in for Simon and Eagle. The MD4 is a super solid mid-range, and the FD3 is what Reeser hit an ace with like 2 weeks ago. So
Dismania is the way to go. It kind of seems that way.
Speaking of, Dismember for this month is Dismania. So Steve, why don't you run us down what all is in that package?
Yeah, so this month we are getting a Glow DDX with pretty sweet stamp on it. You're going to get a towel, you know, keeping your hands dry. It's about to be the rainy season here in Nebraska, so that's going to be helpful.
About to be? It is.
It did rain
last right now.
So. You're going to get a keychain, wristband, and then you're also, for everyone in Dismember, gets a pro version of the UDisc app. So super sweet program.
You're also going to get a brand new unreleased Discmania pin of some kind. I don't even know what they look like because Discmania hasn't got them in yet. So that's what makes it worth mentioning. Your Disc Golf Dismember packages are going to be a little bit late this month. By a little bit late, I mean they're probably going to ship out on the 14th or 15th, I hope. So Discmania, we had a little bit of miscommunication with them about when we needed to ship. So the discs are getting produced in a couple of days, and then they're going to go over to Discmania to get stamped, and then they'll come here. But you'll get that. We decided to ship out late instead of trying to swap something else in, because we really think it is a really sweet package. And they're throwing that pin in for free for us to give to you guys, so that it sweetens the deal. So you won't be seeing those packages until probably around the 18th to the 20th is going to be my guess. So they're coming, and then you'll get another Dismember package in like 2 weeks after that.
I think
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I can tell you it is going to be a dynamic discs new release disc for June. I can't tell you what yet or what else is in the package, but it is going to be a DD disc for a Lucid DD disc for the month of June. So I'm pretty excited about that one too. We're going to do a pretty cool, unique stamp option on it as well that I'm pretty excited about. So we'll get those out to you. All of you Ultimate players, your Dismember stuff is out the door, except for a couple random things that we've still got to wrap up. But most of the Ultimate is out the door, and then Disc Golf will go out as soon as we get the stuff from Dismania. But you're getting a Glow DDX, which is the first release of that, so that's pretty exciting, and those should go real far. All right, so again, this is episode 49 of This Disc is Great with Steve and Nate. We're gonna show you some throw footage. We're gonna talk about the new Innova Rat. We're gonna give this stuff away. A couple of these discs will be given away for just fun, silly comments or just things that make us laugh, or we'll come up with some reason to give one of them away. The Protostar one that Steve is bending for you is gonna go to whoever guesses the farthest backhand. Now you have to guess person, distance, and not go over. So an accurate guess might be Nate, 375, or Steve, 210. Whatever you think the farthest throw that we had with this disc is, guess that, and we will get you this red Protostar Rat. Also, what weights are we throwing, Steve?
This one is 175, and the blue one is also 175. And we really try and throw the exact same weight It could be 170, it could be 174, it could be 175. It's to make sure that we're getting just trying to replicate the flight, and then that makes it so we can't say, oh, it's super beefy at 175, but he's turning it over at 170. It's like, you got to have the same to get it's controlled results.
And that way we have the same, like, it's not like we're throwing a overstable disc at 160 versus an understable disc next week at 175. We want to keep it consistent.
Yep.
All right, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the Rat here,
right.
Steve?
We've got a speed of 4, glide of 2, a high-speed turn of 0, and a fade of 3. The Innova says it's a low-profile, beadless mid-range that flies fast out of the hand. Add the flat top, and the Rat could be the most comfortable sidearm approach disc around. Rip it forehand, it'll fly straight with a predictable fade at the tail end. The backhand grip feels just as good with the flight just as predictable. Bonus, it's a good option for headwind approach shots.
All right, so those numbers, what does that immediately make you think of?
I think harp. I think that low of glide at the same time makes it kind of tough. But you want it to be a faster zone, I guess you would kind of say.
The Discraft actually I've got them right here. Discraft on their new titanium plastic and on the Swirly ESP actually put numbers, and they call the zone a 4.
Oh, cool.
Which I think is fast.
Yeah.
They call it a 4303, so it's got pretty similar numbers to a zone, which is a lot of people is the one disc that they can't replace from Discraft when they're trying to do some other things.
Yes.
I think the AVRX3 was pretty darn close to a zone, so we'll see how this Rat compares. But those are the harp and zone are kind of the two big ones, or other things that are close to that. Your overstable putt and approach. It's a little faster than the typical putter, but how does it feel in the hand, Steve?
The first backhand grip, this is a very small rim. I would actually say it's smaller. It's more straight up and down on the edge than this P2. So
it's very shallow.
I feel like I'm really curling my fingers into it, but it's not it's not uncomfortable since it's nice and flat, so you're allowed to really get on it. But forehand, it feels just fine.
I'd say it definitely feels much better forehand grip than backhand grip. Like it's really shallow, and my fingers just don't feel comfortable in there. So we'll see how that affects some flight. All right. Also, this is really, really gummy Star plastic.
Yeah.
Like, this is almost G-Star. So that's going to make it be a little more understable than typical. So maybe when this comes out with some stiffer Champ plastic, maybe this will be a little beefier. But let's take a look and see how it flies.
That is a mid-range putter, not a putter.
Correct.
People
Yeah.
are saying you guys are comparing your putters. I didn't know.
4 is kind of an awkward in-between speed. Like 4, sometimes like some people call 4 speeds putters, some people call 4 speeds mids. It's kind of in between there. But yeah, let's take a look at it. All right, so is that a Mehizer?
That's a U.
That's a Mehizer. So this is that super windy day, so we had some headwind on this, but thrown on a hyzer, didn't pop out of it, held it the whole way, which is that's what you want this to do. If this is flipping up out of a hyzer, then that's wrong. It's not what you want. But yeah, 241 on a little soft hyzer there into that headwind. That's about what we're going to look at.
Surprisingly, I didn't throw it with all the hyzer. So that really just stood up, and then the wind kind of pushed it. There really was no real turn. It actually was holding up to this wind very well. 250 on a straight line was exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, you got a little turn and a little drift, but again, that's a lot headwind and a lot less of the disc turning itself. So the fact that it stayed that straight is pretty impressive.
Yes.
A little bit of a flatter line. You see it just holds that straight line for me. Fades out nice and solid. That's kind of what you're looking for out of a disc like this. It's not quite as much hook as I really, really wanted it to have, but again, that could be some of the headwind. But 273, like that's right in that kind of approach disc range where you want it to go. So 273 is pretty solid pump for this. Not wanting to get too much more out of it before I jump into my fairways anyway.
Another just into a headwind, just hold straight. I was thinking that it was going to be a bit beefier, but it's just beefy enough to really hold it up to a headwind. So I was liking the flight of this, especially in the amount of wind that we were throwing.
Yeah. Good old Nebraska wind. All right, so this is a little bit of left to right wind, but not a whole lot. I threw this almost just a little bit of hyzer. It popped up to flat, drifted just a little bit, and then sat down really softly. That's a great flight and a great shot to have. That's not a zone shot. That's a zone for me. I need to throw on this kind of an angle, and it's going to do the same kind of flight path, but it's going to be fading out. I'm going to be putting Annie on it, not giving it a little hyzer. So not quite as beefy as my zones flight would be. Not that it's a bad disc, or it's just not quite that. This was a lot straighter for me, and I thought I had a little more glide than the 2. But 315 dead straight, like there's plenty of places where I could use that shot.
So you're saying you throw your zone, which we're considering the zone of putter and this of mid-range. So you're throwing your zone on Annie, and it's actually at 315. It'd be landing.
I'm not getting it out to 315 for one thing.
Okay.
But to get that flight out of a zone, I'm throwing it here versus I threw that rat here.
All right.
And see, same kind of thing here. This one I got on it a little more, but that's on slight hyzer. That wind pushed it over a little bit, but still, I'm definitely not doing that to the zone. So we're going to just kind of generally say these aren't quite as overstable as maybe the 3 suggests, but that's, again, a nice little shot I could use, 270 on a little turnover.
It definitely did things, so
yeah,
that's important.
That was me on a little bit of an Anheuser angle there. And so again, this is headwind, so it's holding that Annie longer than it normally would. But I think we might have one more here that's going to show a similar thing. But like, put that on that Anheuser, it held it. It came out and was hitting flat, so it was coming out of it, but not fighting it the way I would expect a zone to, or at least the beefy zones that I want to throw. Maybe my jawbreaker zone can handle that line, but not this guy. It is one. Yeah, so again, this is with a little less wind, putting it on that Anheuser angle, and it's just holding it. Again, a really usable disc, a shot I could use. Honestly, the way it feels in the hand and just the way it was flying, it's kind of like a beefy Mako 3.
I like how you say that, because it really liked to stay on the line you put it on, like a Mako. Mm-hmm. But, it would fade out.
Yeah.
After 300 feet, your Mako's going to start to fade out. But that's actually a really, really good analogy to describe this disc.
Yeah, it definitely has some more bite at the end. It can handle power a little more than the Mako 3 can. So it is more overstable than a Mako 3, but I don't think it's quite to the zone overstable.
Not zony enough.
That's me on no, that's you on a sidearm. What was that?
No, that's
okay,
me
you're down
in the
there.
field.
Cool. It looked like my Scythe jersey for a second. So that's a sidearm. I do like the sidearm grip on this, and I think that's the guys who I know throw the Rat are throwing it on a lot of sidearm approaches. It actually looks like a 3-fade. I sidearmed it, not the best release, but some solid fade out. It did handle getting thrown fairly hard on a sidearm well. If I really powered into it, I had some wobble issues, but that's more me than the disc.
I'm actually kind of powered down on that. That was basically a standstill shot, and I finally threw it on hyzer, and it just pops right up and holds that. So a 200-foot standstill flick is like exactly what I want to be part of my game. So this one definitely worth putting in the bag to try and flick as far as I'm seeing.
But again, you put a decent amount of hyzer on that and it popped up to flat.
Yeah.
So I would expect if you throw a zone on that hyzer, it's going to hold the whole way. Not pop up to flat and then fade out. Which again, plenty of uses for that shot, plenty of uses for this disc, but maybe a little off on the numbers.
Is that a flick?
Yep.
All right.
Just a little more into it.
little bit into the wind, you got to give it hyzer. But the fact it's not completely turning over from that, nice comfortable hyzer, flips up, doesn't roll out. Hey, I've seen a common theme where it holds straight and then it's starting to fade out at the end.
Yep. That was a standstill, not 100% flick. That's probably like 75. A little bit of Annie, so it held that, but then flexed out. That's a shot that I could use a lot in the woods.
Yes.
Little approaches were like, I need it to go left, but then I need it to not, like, I need it to go left, but I need it to not hit on an angle and roll out. But yeah, it's a pretty controllable approach disc. Like, you can put it on the lines and make it do what you want it to do with a little bit of more forgiveness where it's going to have that hyzer at the end, unlike, say, a Mako 3. Some more standstill approach type shots for you guys.
I really like that standstill 250. That would I have multiple holes around here, Omaha, where you just need to get straight and then finally fade out, not go too far, like a lot of stuff by a creek. That is a money shot that I absolutely love.
Yeah, and here we're seeing a little bit more of that fade. Again, it's assisted by that left to right wind, but throwing it a little softer, we are getting a little more bite and fade out of it. That's getting closer to the 3, but even still,
Yeah.
not quite. So that's on a little bit of hyzer, and it holds it just fine. Nice, again, nice little approach shot, 250. Again, anything outside of 250, I'm probably not throwing a mid anyway. But nice little soft approach shot, went straight, faded out, exactly what you want. So this is the shot I use my zone for all the time. I throw that little anti-flex on it, let it fade out. It kind of did it, but not as sharply, not as soon as my zone normally would. And I didn't throw it as hard as I would normally throw it.
Right.
So it did hold that ante and then flex out pretty solidly when thrown hard. Again, just not quite as much, but it is a similar type shot. All right, so that's all that. So again, numbers are 4303. What do we officially think of those numbers, Steve? What if you had to renumber it? What would you give it?
I think I would. I think I want to leave the 2, but I kind of want to make the last number 2 as well.
Yeah, I definitely think 02 is probably a better. It doesn't really have any turn. It only turns when you make it.
It's definitely this isn't normal star plastic. It's really bendy.
Soft.
It's really bendy.
So yeah, again, maybe in a stiffer run of this, maybe it's going to be closer to that, to that 3.
Exactly.
But with what we threw, I'd probably give this 4302. The 2, it wasn't diving at either that hard. I mean, I threw it 315 feet.
Yeah.
So the 4 is good because it's a little faster than the AVR 3. But the AVR X3, sorry. Comparing them, like the AVR X3 with this, when this came out, I was kind of told this is Innova's replacement to the Rat. Then we threw the AVR X3, and I was like, no, this is. Like, to me, that's the disc that's way more like a zone than this is.
Yeah.
Again, this is a disc that's got some uses. This has got a lot of like workable lines for wooded fairways or wooded up shots or just getting around things. You can put some angles on it and get a little like, again, beefy Mako 3 is kind of I didn't think of that till we're sitting here watching the show, but that's really what it feels like. So you can work the same kind of lines you can with the Mako 3 with a little bit more forgiveness of fade at the end of it. So it's a great disc, and you can do. I think it flicks really well, backhands really well.
Yeah.
Equally, so a good solid approach disc, but maybe not quite the zone replacement you might be looking for. Again, I'd go AVR X3 for that over this. So any other kind of other thoughts while we're waiting for some more people to?
I used to throw the Buzz OS in the Z Flex plastic, and I eventually took it out of the bag. My dad is now throwing it, and I think even that is still too overstable for him unless he's in a headwind. And I would actually say, dude, try this. You're probably going to be able to have it hold a straighter line for longer, but it'll still predictably fade out on you, especially because he's still not getting the leopard up to speed. His leopard's still hitting the ground like that, so it's overstable, but at least it's slow enough that it'll be able to hold a line for a little longer. It's not a bomber, but it's going to be able to be a workable mid-range.
Yeah. And guys, make sure you're commenting, sharing the video, asking some questions. We gotta have some good comments to give some stuff away to. So talk to us, give us some good stuff. We're gonna do the Protostar is gonna be to the closest throw.
Right. Our longest throw was 315 feet
By myself.
by Nate, and the closest without going over before that video showed was Nate backhand 303 feet by Patrick Romero.
He prices righted somebody. I watched that. Somebody gets 302 and he gets 303 right after that. I was like, ooh.
Well, he won it, and
So 315 was the longest. Pat Romero, you've got
Which
this
one did he win?
the Protostar Rat.
The red Protostar Rat. So Sean Pavel says the AVR 3 feels sharp in his hand during release. He loves that disc, but how does this one? This one, he wants to know if this is smoother or sharper than the AVR X3. So honestly, this one that I'm feeling, the sharpness to it, I think, is just some flashing that's on there. And I think that's going to wear down over a couple of rounds and be smoother. I noticed a lot of the AVR X3s did have some pretty good flashing on the rim. So again, a couple rounds of getting beat in, and it's probably going to be cleaner for you.
That does feel deeper though.
But I would say this is sharper than the Rat is, for sure. The Rat is a little more rounded. Frank Bennett asks, "How is this different from a Gator? You have thrown a Gator in your bag for a while.
Yep.
I don't know if it's still there.
I pulled the Gator out because it's just like my mortar, but
Yeah.
I started with the Gator, and then I just liked the grip on the mortar a little more, but this has been going farther than the mortar, and it's not fading as much as the mortar. So same with the Gator. This will go farther than your Gator, but it's not going to have as much fade.
And similarly to the mortar versus Gator, this doesn't have a bead. So for those of you who don't know, the Heiserbomb mortar is just the mold for Innova's old beadless Gator. So they are the same, and this I would agree, no bead, not quite as beefy. We got any good ones in there?
questions?
Yeah, questions. I hadn't scrolled back up too
didn't
far.
get as many questions as we usually do, but
Does anyone notice my hat? I haven't worn this one in a while.
So Josh asked this last week, so he's not going to win for it. But we didn't answer it live. So let's go ahead and answer it now. If we were playing a doubles tournament and you had to choose a former world champion to play with for that tournament, who would you pick and why?
Like if there was a tournament this weekend,
Like
or
if you and me were going to go play doubles and we each get to pick a world champion to play with, who are you picking?
I picked Paige. I'd pick Paige Pierce.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Ricky because my putting is my biggest issue, and Ricky cleans that up for me a lot.
we'll go with Eagle.
Eagle hasn't won Worlds.
Oh, yeah? No, is that what the stipulation was?
Yeah.
Or just then Ken Kleinman.
I haven't seen, Kleinman's not played a lot lately. I mean, who knows how rusty he's going to be, but that's not a bad choice, but it's a kind of an unknown choice.
Sean Drew wants to know, is it less or more overstable than a VIP harp?
I'd say pretty close, because the harps that I've thrown, weren't as they've got the same numbers as a zone and this, and very similarly, they were close to being a zone, but not quite beefy enough for me. So I'd say they're pretty close.
Yeah, I don't remember throwing a harp, but from what I can remember, it was deeper, and so I felt when it's deeper, it ends up being a little more overstable.
All right, let's. Ethan Watson's in Disneyland. Well, that's fun. Somebody wanted to compare it to a suspect versus a verdict. I saw that earlier. I don't know who asked that, but somebody said suspect versus. I think it was Sean. But suspect versus verdict. Have you thrown either or both of those?
I bagged a verdict for a minute, but I don't think I've thrown a suspect.
So I would say this is pretty, the suspect also has a little bit of a beat on it, and I'd say this is really close to a suspect, because again, when that first came out, I wanted it to be my zone replacement, and it wasn't. So this is very, very, very similar, other than the suspect is beated. It's not quite, the verdict is also just a touch more overstable and also faster.
Yeah.
I throw my verdicts out to 3, and gliding. Like, DD has really gliding mids. I throw my verdicts out to 330, 350 sometimes, and this I got to 315. So, all right, we need to give something away. Do we want to just randomly do it?
What do we have left to give away?
We've got to give away this Warrior Spirit P2 and this other rat. This is not the Warrior Spirit P2.
I know, I did the same thing.
All right, Evan, you get me a random one for the Warrior Spirit P2, and Justin Freeze is a name that I've not seen before, and he says Freebie Friday, or Freebie Wednesday, playing on our Freebie Friday, so he's going to win this other Star Rat, because I didn't have a better reason to give it to anybody else.
Our P2 winner, randomly selected, was just someone I picked from the thing. It's Aaron Defoe.
Aaron Defoe, also a name I haven't seen. David Sean Henry, no, you cannot see Nathan King on camera. He went home. He's got a new Springfield guy to ask about now that he's here. I saw a couple things roll in. Daniel Moore says flight compared to a slammer.
Slammer's really beefy. It's slow. I think this version of the Rat is going farther and fading less than a slammer.
I'd say flight-wise, I could replace my zones with slammers, but the slammers feel way different with
That thumb track.
the thumb track, and just the rim is a little sharper. But if I had to, I could definitely do that. Someone else earlier said we should try out the Explorer. I believe that's episode 43, I'm guessing. But it was a few weeks ago. We did the Explorer. We really like the Explorer. Go check it out. We have them back in stock, so you can buy them. Get on that. But yeah, so that's all we have for this week.
Who are our winners again? Let's go through that.
Yeah. That's a good. Aaron Defoe won the Warrior Spirit P2. Justin Freeze, or Ferez, or however you want to pronounce his name, won the Blue Star Character Stamp Rat, Innova Rat. And then
Photo was
Patrick Romero, one of our old friends, has won the Proto Star Rat. So that's going to be all for this week. Next week we have the Prodigy H3 V2. H3 V2 is coming up, and then we need to start doing some more filming. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. So we've got captains, we've got vultures, stings, the H1 V2, the H5, the Excite is in there, and a bunch of other
Getaway?
stuff. Not yet. We don't have the Getaway. Well, we only have one version of the Getaways yet. So the Getaway and the Fuji will be a little ways down the road.
All right.
But yeah, there's Bonsai from DGA
There you go.
is in there.
Yeah.
There's a whole stack in my car that we need to film, but it needs to not be 50-mile-an-hour winds and rain. So we'll get to that soon, hopefully. But yeah, be back next week. We'll be getting Dismember out to you as soon as we can.